the last section here, or sections 3 and 4, guys. The formula you do not need to memorize. You just need to know how to apply it. Will you? I'm trying to instruct. So you need to know how to work it out by showing that you can plug in the correct points. So this is your x1 and your y1, and your x2 and your y2, showing that you can set it up and put it in the right form and simplify this. So in the first grouping, your x2 would be -2 minus the -3, parentheses squared. Then you would have 3 minus 10, parentheses squared. You need to simplify each grouping first and then square it. So underneath the radical, we would have 1 parentheses squared plus -7 parentheses squared. Anytime you square it, it's going to turn into a positive. So this is really just 1 plus 49, which is 50, and that can be simplified. Yeah, 25 times 2. So your final answer is 5 root 2. For the midpoint formula, if you need to label your x and your y, you can. But now you're adding and taking the average. So the midpoint here, and I'm going to do that in red, is saying 8 plus the -4 over 2, and the -2 plus -7 over 2. And then you simplify that. So try to see if you can get the simplified answer. One of the coordinates is a decimal. We should have 2 comma -4.5. If you're given the graph, instead of doing the distance formula, you could do Pythagorean theorem. But in order to do Pythagorean theorem, you have to create the right triangle. So you have to draw the legs. So this would be going up 6 units, and then the horizontal leg is 2. So then I can plug that in and say 6 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 4 equals c squared. That's 40 equals c squared. But you have to take the square roots, and this can be simplified. Now 4 times 10, which means this would be 2 root 10. So if it's easy for you to do Pythagorean theorem, make sure you show the work of drawing the legs and then plug it into the formula. Now, besides finding the midpoint, you are going to have to find the other endpoint. So this says find the endpoint C. For a problem like this, you want to look for a pattern. So the segment is CD. M is the midpoint, so it goes from C to M to D. So we don't know what C is. We do know the M, they says 2, 4, and the D is 5, 7. I can see right here from 7 to 4, it went up 3, so that pattern is going to continue. From 5 to 2, it subtracted 3, so that pattern is going to continue. So that lets me see if I add 3 to 4, I mean, sorry, there's subtraction on both. I apologize. Minus 3, minus 3. So if I subtract 3, this will end up being negative 1, comma 1 for C. And then the last part we did before, but we're still using right triangles, geometric means with right triangles. So you still need to be able to apply boomerang. So you need to remember that means you go hypotenuse, leg, leg, part, and you have to be able to do heartbeat. And you have to be able to recognize when to do which. Heartbeat is part, altitude, altitude, part. And you're going to do it with radicals or show a radical answer. So if I'm looking at 43, which method should we use? Yes, because the number, the altitude is given. That's your A. There's your part. There's your part. This is heartbeat. So part over altitude equals altitude over part. When I substitute the parts or the values, this would be x over 6 equals 6 over 4. This will come out, okay? Should be a whole number answer. Now, on number 44, because the x is the leg, it's not inside, everything's outside, this should be boomerang, which is hypotenuse over leg equals leg over part. The hypotenuse is the hypotenuse to the whole triangle. That would be 15. So I'm going from that hypotenuse to the leg, back down the leg, and I'm stopping at the adjacent part. So 15 over x equals x over 3. This one's a radical answer, because when I cross multiply, I get x squared equals 45. And then when I take the square root, that can be simplified. What perfect square goes into 45? Yep, 5 times 9. 9 is the perfect square. So you should end up with 3 root 5. And then here they're saying find QR. So what method should we use on the last problem? It's not heartbeat because there's nothing inside. It's boomerang. Hypotenuse over leg equals leg over part. What's the hypotenuse in this problem? What's our leg? Yes. And then what's the adjacent part? Yep, you got to find the missing part here, which is 4. And then you're going to cross multiply and simplify. This is a radical answer, obviously, because all your answer choices are in radical form. So if you want extra credit, guys, or you want extra points on your tests, you have to do the extra credit on quizzes. Okay? It's right set. It says 85, but I think it's set for an 80. You have to make an 80 to get the extra points. All right? There you go.